Good evening. Ryan and Sacktown here. Welcome to a live edition of the King's Court. I'm starting a little bit early, 10 minutes earlier, just because the NCAA games, you know what, they're kind of in a break right now. They're in between. So why don't we get it cracking here on a Saturday? I actually recorded an episode of the King's Court earlier this morning, and you're not going to believe what happened. The mic distorted. Again, y'all. This is the new King's Court studio. What's going on here? Anyways, happy to be with you. Live, coming to you Saturday evening. A lot of news in Kingsland. A lot of news. We had a heavy post-game show last night. And a lot still to kind of discuss. A lot to digest from last night. I'm still digesting it. We didn't talk a lick last night. A lick about the Utah Jazz. We didn't. And it's rightfully, I think it was the right thing. It was, because it was raw emotions, I think, for a lot of Kings fans. If you look at, or you go back, you watch that broadcast, I was looking at the chat pretty closely there. And I was looking at what everybody was saying, and it wasn't irresponsible for the most part. You do have some knuckleheads once in a while, but you guys were making good points. You elevated the conversation. So I'm not going to go too long tonight. You guys can call the show if you would like. The whole reason I'm doing the King's Court Live was, one, because the mic was distorted, and it was an hour-long episode, y'all. An hour-long episode. We're not going to go that long tonight, but I do have some thoughts. I'm going to condense that. We also have some news out of Kingsland, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. The Kings were back at practice today. Somber, I guess, would be the best way to put it. Sobering, the mood. Look, I don't think the vibe that I got, it wasn't so much that it was down. It's just, these are the facts. It is what it is. And Keegan talked to the media. Coach Brown talked to the media. The news on Malik Monk. Let's get to that right off the top. If you guys would like to leave a comment, please do. We'll get those read. If you'd like to join the show, you are more than welcome to. You can call the show, hit the link that's in the chat. You can also scan the QR code above me. The questions you would have expected, let's put it that way. But Malik Monk, sprained MCL, right knee. To be honest with everyone, it's the best news you could have hoped for. A lot of us thought the worst when we saw that injury. And although we thought it was maybe Luka at first glance, Luka, who had 3 days to eat up the Sacramento scenery, he gorged himself in the culture. He sliced away some of the bad things that they say about Sac. Just kidding. I'm sorry. The Golden Corral thing. I mean, you got to have a little fun with it. Kings did just lose. But 2 to 3 weeks. Malik Monk is the injury, 2 to 3 weeks at this time. 3 to 4, really. It's the end of the season. It's unless the Kings make a massive move. Unless they make a massive move, DeAaron Fox, and by the way, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're not going to talk about DeAaron. We're going to talk about decoding Coach Brown. And I started with it a little bit on the post-game show yesterday. Look, we see the writing on the wall with the Kings. We know which way that it's probably going to go. So in some ways, the pressure feels like it's off. And it's just time to roll the ball out, see what happens. They're going to be small. We wait on Sasha, by the way. Sasha is listed as questionable for tomorrow. Trey Lyles, that's the next update. He is now upgraded to questionable for tomorrow against the Jazz. But the Kings are going to be smaller. It's going to be extended minutes for some of the guys. And DeAaron Fox, I think DeAaron Fox took the most last night on the post-game show. And is it fair? Probably not. Not at this point, no. Now, if we want to look at the entire body of work for the season and go from there, sure. But there's still a lot of basketball left. And here's the deal. DeAaron Fox now has an opportunity, in my opinion, with the pressure off. Think about that. The pressure's off. He was the clutch player of the year last year. Clutch player of the year. Most Kings fans, some that I've talked to today, they've written this season off. With Monk out, they've written it off. And quite frankly, if you look at the Kings coming into last night, I led the show with this last night. It was just this, that last night's game was a perfect illustration of the Kings season in one night. We got it all. They played great defense in the third quarter. Couldn't score the ball. We got the terrible injury for Malik Monk. It just is what it is. But now with DeAaron Fox, pressure's off. What's he going to do? Can he lead this team to the playoffs? Can he lead them to the play-in? As it sits today, the Kings in the 7 seed. So Dallas, they jump ahead of the Kings 2 games. I'm not going to get too far into the minutia because there's really no reason to do that. We know it. We'll get into tomorrow on the Kings Court a Jazz preview. We can talk a little bit more about the X's and the O's in the basketball. But going back to last night, the takeaways that I got is this fan base is impatient. Just last year, this team broke a 16-year playoff drought. 16 years. And if you look at many of the teams, hey, we got our first comment. I love it. Is it a good comment? I don't know. I see the word flopped. Flopped is never good when you go to the comments for the first time, but we'll give it a gander right here. Mike, what is up, my man? Welcome to the show. I think it's suspect the way Luka fall and flopped on Monk. No, it wasn't. I take nothing from that. Plus, did the NBA really want Sack? Stop. Okay, Mike, we're going overboard. Come on, dude. Mike, too far. Too far. We'll let that one go. So, oh, you know what? I lied. Steely beat. Shake my head. Possibly out of the play-in. It feels so bad for Malik. That's kind of the, to me, that's been what it's been about since Malik got hurt. It's, damn, this sucks for Malik. Contract year. If you look at the importance, and again, we're going to get to the point of the podcast tonight, but if you look at the importance of the Kings players with the makeup that they had going into last night. So I'm talking about Lyles out, Herter out, Sasha out. Yes, I'll give you a Vizikov. All out, right? Malik Monk, he was the last hope for the Kings. For the Kings, this incarnation of the Kings, besides De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk was the last spark that the Kings had on the end of the bench to me. It's scoring-wise, well, I should say spark. Scoring spark. It's gone. If you looked at the order of importance of players that you didn't want to lose, Malik is right near the top of it. So it brings up the bigger conversation, which we got into last night. And I go back to this. The fan base is impatient. And I get it. Look, this is a knowledgeable fan base. This is a fan base that likes to see hard work. They love the 50-50 ball. Shit, you look at this fan base, I bet you get a louder cheer at Arco Arena or G1C for a player diving on the floor and getting the ball than you would a 3. A logo 3. It's the makeup of Sacramento. We've seen so much bad basketball for so long. And even the good times when the Kings were bad that we look back on sometimes with a little bit of nostalgia, those teams worked hard. They weren't very good, but those teams worked hard. So I look for De'Aaron Fox. I look for him to take that step now, So getting back to the fan base, the front office has not made very many moves. We know this. Now, the moves that the front office have made have been very, very prudent, but they have been very conservative as well. And if you're a fan, you're trying to make sense of that, right? This team, the Sacramento Kings team, is in a window. It feels like they're at the beginning stages of a window. And it sucks that this year they get bit by the injuries because the Western Conference is wide ass open this year. It's open for the taking. So when Mike Brown came here, Mike Brown preached defense. Mike Brown has had two. I'm looking right now. He's had two teams where he's coached for 100, or he's coached for 82 games at a minimum, and they have been the best in the NBA at defending the three ball. So going back to Coach Brown, everything was about defense when he was hired. Everything, okay? You look at the moves the Kings made in the offseason. So I'm going to focus there. Vic, I see you. I'll get to you in 2 seconds, buddy. Thank you for calling in. The Kings' depth this offseason, we thought it was deeper than it had been in a long time. And it was. It was compared to last year's team. It was. Now, the compilation of the roster, that can be debated, whether the players were offensive players or defensive players, because there has been some turnover. But what's undebatable right now is the Sacramento Kings are left with really outside of their core players. And when I say their core players, Keegan Murray, who has been a bright spot on the defense this year, very bright spot for this Kings team. In fact, I would go as far to say he's the leader of the Kings defense. So you got him, who, to me, he took a bigger jump this year between year one and year two. And the stats will tell you different. Bigger jump than DeAaron Fox between year one and year two. And I would say the expectations for Keegan were higher. So I'm going to keep going on that thought. But first, I want to get to Vic. As I said, you guys can call the show. The link is floating around in the chat. You just click on that. You don't have to be on camera. Also, you can scan the QR code above my shoulder. Vic, welcome in to the Kings Court. Happy to have you on today. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing?
Doing excellent.
Yeah, so just saw the news that Malik Monk is gone 46 weeks, which
yes,
is pretty much going to lead right into the playoff time, because I think we have about a month left, right?
And the play-in begins April 16th.
April 16th. So do you think there's a chance he'll be back by then, or?
I doubt it. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not a doctor. It's a great question, Vic. I mean, it's the $1 million question. I would use Trey Lyles right now as the example, and every injury is different, but he also sprained his MCL, and he is now upgraded to questionable for tomorrow. Take it with a grain of salt. Sasha has been questionable for the last 2 weeks. So the Kings would have to, in my opinion, and even if he was ready to come back on the court by the play-in, what kind of basketball shape is he going to be in? That's a tough ask, Vic.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. It's just not going to be like before. And then also, let's just say hypothetically, we're in a play-in and we win that game and we were in the playoffs. Do you think we get in out the first round without him, or is it going to be a challenge?
I think you're playing. I think you are 100% playing with house money in the playoffs this year. So whether you have Malik Monk or whether you don't have Malik Monk, it's going to be house money. I think for a better. I feel like the pressure. You ever cook with a pressure cooker, Vic?
Yeah.
I feel like the pressure on this city has been released with the Malik Monk injury, and I don't mean to make light of it. I don't mean. Brian, is my mic bad, Vic?
No, I hear you fine.
Okay. I will turn that down. Sorry, Brian. That's the second night in a row. I get this damn new studio, and this happens. Anyways, getting back to what I was saying, it's going to be house money for these guys, and there's no pressure. So if they can make a run, if they can get a favorable matchup, hell, if look at the injuries that have happened in the Western Conference as of late. You got a lot of guys that have been dinged up, and Luka, he's dealing with something. So who knows? Maybe somebody goes down in front of them. There's still a lot of basketball, but Vic, the schedule coming up is nasty.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not favorable for us. And and just like unlike last year versus this year, we were one of the healthier teams, right, going into the playoffs. This year it's like the exact opposite. So and it's all about health and being able to be on the court, right, when the time matters. So just unfortunate, and maybe this is a little bit of relief, like why we didn't take that next step this year. You know what I mean? It's because of the injury bug. It sucks, but I think regardless of the fact that even if we did have them, and we would, it's not like we were favored to win. There's so much.
No.
The teams in the West are, man, it's crazy this year. Like they're just it's tough. Top five teams are all legit. And we're just there. Like I said, like Grant always says, we're a good team. I don't think we're there yet, though. You know what I mean? To compete just yet for a championship. But hey, we'll take it one season at a time, and just hope he gets back on the court healthy, and we're good by next year. So that's all I have.
No doubt. Hey, I appreciate the call, Vic. Really appreciate it. Have a great night. Okay.
You too. Thanks.
All right, brother. I don't know what's going on. Okay, guys, can you just do me a favor? Put a 1. I am so sorry. I tested before I came on tonight, and everything was fine. I think it's when I bring a second person on. Restream's having a little problem. I have noticed that, but that is my problem. I will try to get that fixed. If it is unbearable, I will stop the show, and I will restart the show. So 1s, if the show needs to be restarted because of the equipment. 2, if it's okay. Appreciate your guys' feedback. So I want to be clear about this, by the way. I'm seeing some comments about push an agenda, yada, yada, yada. I don't know if you're talking to me, JDC. I don't know if you're talking to somebody else, Mike in the chat. There is zero agenda on the King's Court. Zero. Well, what agenda do I have? Am I a credentialed member of the media? No. The Kings don't credential podcasters, livecasters. They don't do it yet. You have to have an affiliation. Okay? So what's my agenda? Other than bringing you insight on the Kings. If you've listened to the King's Court, if you've heard me with Grant, if you have listened to the deposition of Ryan in Sacktown, which is really my why, it's me coming to you and saying, this is why you can trust what I am saying about basketball. This is my credibility chip, okay? So there is no agenda here, JDC. So if that was directed at this show, find a new one because there's no agenda. So take that somewhere else. Cool. Brian, by the way, sorry too. If so Zach, it needs to be restarted. Okay, guys, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shut down the show. I'm going to restart it right now. So it's going to be a different link. I really hope you can come with me on the other side. It will literally be 2 minutes. We'll be right back up on YouTube, right back up on X. See you in a couple minutes. Zach, call back. New link.